Your microphone is muted.
Good evening, friends. I welcome you to the lecture in the series being hosted by the India International Center. I welcome everyone to this important discussion today on the outlook of India's food security to 2033. In the last few months, especially after the promulgation of ordinances, you have all been discussing, hearing, listening, writing, and reading about the farm laws and what impact will they have. But today we are going to hear an expert talking to us about the food security outlook to 2033. Many of you would have already read about Professor Parmod Kumar. He is a professor at Institute of Social and Economic Change, Bangalore. He has written extensively on food security and nutrition, public distribution system. He has published more than 70 research articles, which are referred in national and international journals. He's a very well-known person, and he produced this report, which I thought I'd show to you. It is a very comprehensive report. It has been discussed in various research forums, but I thought that the audience of IIC should also get to know what we should expect by 2033 as far as India's food security outlook is concerned. So thank you very much. Dr. Pramod Kumar will speak for about half an hour, 35 minutes, and then we will have questions and answers for about 20-25 minutes. Thank you very much, and over to you, Dr. Pramod Kumar.
Thank you, Siraj ji, for giving me this opportunity, inviting me for this lecture. I'll be presenting through PowerPoint, so I'll put on the presentation here. Is my presentation visible? Siraj,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, as introduced by Siraj, the respectable chair, I'll be speaking on outlook on food security in India, the future scenario of 32-33. This comes from my previous work, which I have been doing on demand-supply forecasting in the Indian agriculture right from the decade of 2010. I was member of the 11th working group on demand and supply forecasting constituted by Planning Commission, and I was the chair of the working group on demand and supply constituted by the Niti Aayog. So our commission was constituted in 2016 and 2018. We presented the report to the Niti Aayog. It is available on the Niti Aayog website, which gives the details of demand and supply forecasts, and they are referred by various departments in the Ministry of Agriculture and other departments for their future planning. So these estimates were worked out in 2016-17. The data used was up to 2015. As now we are in 2020 and we have data available up to 2019 now. So I reworked those estimates, and I will be speaking about these estimates here in this presentation today. So just I'll just define food security. What is the definition of food security? FAO defined in 2002. It says food security exists when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food, which meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So there are various dimensions in this particular definition of food security. I have called out the demand and supply aspects of this definition of food security. There are mainly three dimensions: availability of food, accessibility, and affordability. So availability is nothing but how much a country produces, you can say the domestic production, how much we import, and the year-to-year stock. If we add these together, this is the amount available in a country at the macro level. I am not speaking food security at the micro level, at the household level, which is a separate topic to discuss. I'll be speaking mainly on the food security on the macro side at the aggregate level. So the supply side is basically the availability of food, how much is the food available, whether produced within the country or imported or stocked. And accessibility is basically it says that the food should be within the reach of the consumer, which emphasize the distribution aspects of the food. The third aspect is affordability, which says sufficient purchasing power should be there with the consumer to afford to buy it from the market, whether it is at the market price or at the public distribution system which we have. So it reflects the demand side factors. So if we see the food security, basically it is demand as well as supply. Both the factors should be addressed. Then we can say the country is food secure. The food security is a long-term phenomena. We cannot say whether all people are food secure all times. There are people we define the APL and BPL population, below poverty and above poverty. Generally, we consider that the food insecurity is among the below poverty people, but it could be there among the above poverty line people also, especially during the periods when we have either drought or we have flood, or at present we are facing with COVID situation. So a lot of people who generally are food secure become food insecure also during such times. We have again the government policies addressing food security from the demand side as well as supply side. I just flagged 2-3 major government programs on the demand and supply side, like National Food Security Act, which was passed in 2014, the public distribution system, which is running for almost half a century in the country, which ensures demand side food security. Similarly, midday meal scheme, integrated child development scheme. These are all to provide food, either cooked or uncooked food, to the consumer, meeting their demand side. On the supply side, the programs like National Food Security Mission, which was started in 2007, Village Grain Bank Scheme is there for stocking within the village, and Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, it is popularly for many of these commodities, but mainly strengthening the supply side. And on the distribution side, employment side, purchasing power, there are several employment programs. Food for Work program, MG Narega, we all know, is basically strengthening the purchasing power of the consumer in the rural areas, so that the food can be made available to them through better purchasing power. So food security is nothing but the demand and supply side of the food grains, availability of food grains to all people, and purchasing power of the people all the times. So in the next slides, this is the working group which was constituted in 2016. I was chairing the working group, and the report was submitted. This is the report our Siraj was showing, the working group report. This is available on the Niti Aayog website. So what I am presenting today is updated version of this. This is little old data now, because in time series data changes very rapidly. Within quarter, data becomes old. So I have just re-estimated with data up to 2019-20. So I will be presenting both the aspects of estimation of demand and supply. I have a demand model and a supply model, which are estimated, and then in the end, I check the balance where we would be by 32, 33. So on the demand side, estimation of demand model The almost ideal demand system has been estimated. Data, I'll just define what data has been used, projections of household and indirect consumption. And also I will be presenting one or two slides on impact of COVID on demand side. It is a general impression that agriculture has not been impacted by COVID, and we have 3.5% growth in agriculture when the entire economy, all other sectors having very huge negative growth. But it has impacted agriculture, some of the commodities on the demand side. On the supply side, although production is not that much impacted, but prices volatility has been increased. I'll be just bringing those aspects. The supply side, what I have done is I have run a simultaneous equation model, three-stage least square model, which basically simultaneously we estimate area, yield, domestic price, and exports. Because the economy is now global, so unless we have the foreign sector, our farmer, how much area farmer allocates to a particular crop, that not only depends on the price he receives domestically, but also the international price. So opening up with the international boundaries, this supply has been estimated with three-stage least square simultaneous. So projections of production and exports and comparison of growth in demand and supply, I'll be just talking in my presentation. I'll not go into details of the demand model estimation. For those who are known technically in this, the linear approximate almost ideal demand system has been worked out. Seemingly unrelated regression method has been used. And there is conditions of homogeneity, adding up, and symmetry which have been satisfied by this demand model. All the model is this is a complete model. If we go in the history of demand estimation in the till the say 40s and 50s, it was a partial demand where like wheat demand will be determined by a wheat price and some other commodities. It was estimated individually, but there is a fault in such a model because the demand for commodities is determined simultaneously. It's not that demand for food does not depend on the demand for non-food commodities. Demand for food is determined by how much household will be spending on education, how much household will be spending on clothing, how much on health and other activities. So demand is a part of the family budget. Family budget, how much will be spent on different items, it all depends on the prices of those commodities, prices of the related commodities, the real income of the household, and vis-a-vis other factors. So the demand for food has to be estimated with demand for non-food simultaneously. So that is what the complete commodity demand system. The complete commodity demand system keeps in mind simultaneity of all the commodities. So this is what has been done. All commodities, the family budget expenditure is given by National Sample Survey, and we have almost 545 commodities. So you cannot have 545 equations. It becomes a too huge system. So the entire bundle of agricultural commodities is divided into I have divided into some 7-8 groups, like cereals, pulses, edible oils, milk, which is milk and meat putting together, fruits and vegetables, other food and non-food. So this is how this model has been estimated. There are certain assumptions for forecasting. So I need to clarify these assumptions for the sake of clarity. We need population. If I want to estimate demand for 3032, I need to have the estimates of the population in 32, 33. So we have census data which is available every decade. So the usual practice which is throughout the world is used is the growth rate in the decadal growth rate. They are used to estimate the population. So the growth rate of 2001 to 2011 has been used to forecast the population up to 21, because 21 census data will be generated next year. We don't have that data. So I have used those growth rate to calculate population up to 32, 33. I'll show the estimates which I have calculated. Similarly, the urban share is expected to increase from 31. In 2011, the share of urban and rural was 69-31, which is expected to increase to urban share is expected to increase from 31 to 39% in 11, and So by 2031, the share of urban population will increase up to 39% from the present level of 27-28%. Similarly, contribution of rural sector in total GDP, when we are forecasting, we need the purchasing power in 32-33. What would be the purchasing power, which is estimated from the GDP expected growth rate. So not only we need population for the 32, but also at what rate our GDP would be growing, which gives us the estimates of purchasing power increase. So because the estimates are worked out at rural and urban, so the GDP share of rural and urban has been forecasted. It will come down from the contribution of rural sector in total GDP is expected to come down from 47% in 2011-12, which is the real data, to 44% in 2020 and 40% by 2032-33. This is rural, not agriculture, the entire rural. GDP growth during current year has been minus 4.5%, or it is expected to be minus 4.5%. That is what the World Bank forecasted. So I have used that. And 6% during 21-22, the next year, when recovery will happen. So from 22-23 to 2032, two scenarios have been generated, 6% and 8% per annum. Because 21-22, we go back, we are expected to recover by the end of next year. And then our usual growth path of 6% and 8% has been presumed for the period up to 32. So corresponding per capita income growth during 22-23 onwards would be 4.8%, 8.7%, and 6.87% for rural and urban. For current year, it would be minus 5.8% given the growth rate of minus 6%. So if we work out per capita income, it would be minus 5.8%, and next year 4.73%. So this is the assumption on the GDP side, how the income will be growing, which will determine the demand for the forthcoming period. The database for family budget, as I informed, has been used from National Sample Survey organization, which conducts family budget rounds from 43rd to 68th. Thin and thick round data has been used. The data 68th round was in 2011. After 2011, we don't have family budget data, either thick or thin round. The data for 17, 18, 75th round consumer expenditure, which was carried out, but it has not been released by the government, and no thin round data is also available. So on the demand side, we don't have any data available after 2011. So we have used the 2011 estimates only. If unfortunately for 17-18 data is not available, otherwise it would have been very nice to have the latest estimates. So model is estimated for rural and urban separately. For prices, wholesale price indices were used. We do not have the retail prices available in that detail, so wholesale price indices were used. Now on supply side, as I mentioned, supply response function was estimated with 4 equations: area and yield, which determine production. and then production depends on the price, what price, domestic price prevailing. So area is determined by the domestic price received by the farmer. So it is there is a simultaneity in the function, because area depends on the domestic price depends on the production. So we cannot estimate individually. We have to estimate in a system. Similarly, exports function also determine how much we will be exporting. So these four equations were estimated. This is the format which is estimated. I'll just skip this for the time paucity. Now, the predicted population, our population in 2011 was 121 crore, say 1.21 billion. UN projection I have given in the last column. UN projection for 11-12 was 1.24 billion, which is slightly more above. For 2032, I worked out 1.566 billion in 2032. The UN projection is 1.53 billion. So slightly there was less during the 2011. My estimates, this is real. So UN was exceeding in the initial years, and then 32 there is a slight difference, but they are more or less closer. It does not make much difference in the total demand. This is the estimate of expenditure elasticities. This is the expenditure elasticities which I worked out from using the almost ideal demand system. It is interesting to see that the expenditure elasticity of cereals is negative for rural as well as urban. It means if the income of the consumer increases, they purchase less of cereals. They diversify their commodities, their family spending more towards pulses, edible oils, milk, and meat, what we call high value commodities, from calorie consumption to more carbohydrates, fats, vitamins. So if we compare urban and rural, the urban elasticity is much higher compared to rural elasticity is much higher compared to urban, which means with increase in income, rural people spend more on pulses, edible oils, milk, and meat. The diversification from cereals to high value commodities is occurring in the rural areas, whereas in the urban areas, the diversification has almost already completed. If I have not reported non-food commodities, the elasticity is more than one, which essentially means if their income increases by 100%, or say 10% increase in income leads to more than 10% increase in non-food income, non-food consumption. Whereas food consumption, in the case of say pulses, like 10% will lead to 5% increase in pulses consumption, edible oils 8%, milk and meat 8%. But rural and urban is almost double compared. Rural is almost double compared to urban. That means with increase in income, diversification process is continuing in rural, which is already much more done in urban. So urban consumer spends more on clothing, footwear, education, health compared to rural with their increase in income. So for the demand, working out demand, there are two parts. One is demand for seed, feed, and wastage and other industrial uses. The other is the household demand or the direct demand. This one is indirect demand, as we demand for commodities not only for direct consumption, but also for agro processing, also for seed. There is a demand for seed, whatever out of the production, some is used as a seed. Some seed the farmer may be buying from the market, but some seed is used from the homegrown. And then there is feed requirement, like core cereal feed requirement is much higher. Wheat requirement is higher compared to rice. And oilseeds and pulses feed demand may not be that high, but pulses and oilseed industrial uses demand is much higher. The oilseed edible oil is used for most of the processing activities. Similarly, pulses are used for industrial processing. So, working out the indirect demand, the earlier planning commission used to use 12% of the total production as indirect demand for seed, feed, and wastage, which was much less. We have reworked out using the gap between demand and supply, and it works out around almost 25-26% of the total food grains. So the food grains used as seed, feed, wastage, and industrial uses is increased from 34 million tons in the early 90s to around 76 million tons up to 2015-16. It is expected to increase up to 121 million tons by 31-34, that period. It is expected to cross 95 million tons and 120 million tons by 32. The ratio of seed, feed, wastage to total food grains demand would increase from less than 25% in almost triennium ending 12-13. We are already around 25%, and it will go up to 40% by 32-33. These are the estimates worked out. This is supply elasticities. Probably I need to skip this. I'll just show one slide on the farm harvest price. This is domestic price. The important factor which determines domestic price is minimum support price. It was found very significant and almost equal to 1 in case of wheat. That is, there is 1-to-1 relation. 10% increase in minimum support price leads to almost 10% increase in farm harvest price. In the rice, it was 0.77. Kharif core cereals, it was 0.87. The other commodities like pulses, Rabi, it was 0.91. But it was not significant in Kharif and Rabi oilseeds because there is no procurement done in these commodities. Even the dimension of Rabi core cereal was 0.42. It was almost half compared to the rice and wheat. So what I want to say is minimum support price is very important factor for determining the farm harvest price, and there is a lot of controversy going on. I will come back to this point later. Similarly, word price, it was more important, it was significant in Kharif core cereals, which is basically maize, where we are exporting as raw material and used for the domestic as raw material also. Similarly, Kharif pulses, it was significant, and Kharif oilseeds, in the case of Rabi, these elasticities were not significant. So now I'll come to the net balances of supply and demand of food grains by 2032-33. The demand estimates worked out for 32 were around 330 to 350 million tons of food grains. Compared to this, supply would be 367 to 375 million tons. In the case of milk, demand was around 300 to 355 estimated. Milk supply would be near around demand. And in the horticulture commodities, the demand may go up to 600 to 700 million tons. Production would sufficiently approach that amount. You can see the year-wise picture here. Final estimates of demand by 2032. This is the actual figure of 1920, what we have. And this one is the forecasted figure of cereals, 292 million tons. Total food grains, 333 million tons. Oilseeds, 130 million tons. And milk and products, 328 million tons. Fruits, vegetable, and nuts, around 641 million tons. This is the demand which is worked out with all those assumptions. The important point I would draw the attention of the listeners. If we see the 1920 and 2021, this is the period of COVID. 1920 is data up to March, and then 2020 is April to March 2021. If we see, this is the normal situation, and this 2021 is abnormal because the cereals elasticity is negative. If there is increase in income, cereals consumption will come down. If there is a decrease in income, cereal consumption will increase. All other commodities elasticity is positive. That means with decrease in income, their consumption will decline. With their increase in income, consumption will increase. So what it shows, the demand for cereals, rice, wheat, core cereals is going to increase because of decline in purchasing power. And the demand for other commodities, high value crops, which generally is increasing, it has come down during this year. The dimension is shown here. So this shows the figure in blue shows increase in demand for cereals, and pulses, oilseeds, and other high value crops demand is declining during the pandemic period. So 2021 onwards, it will resume its normal trend, and end result, we don't find much of difference in the demand, aggregate demand. But during this period, we have their decline. I'll show what is the dimension of decline in the next slides. This is final estimates of supply, which shows the supply, there is no decline. If you see 2021, it is a usual path of increase. Supply has not been affected that much. There may be some dimension of effect of prices. Farmers may have faced some problem in input purchasing. But overall, we can see our supply has increased. Our Rabi was not affected, and Kharif is also there is some 2 to 3% increase. So there is no effect of on the supply side, but on the demand side there is a decline in demand. So this is the aggregate of food grains, total horticulture commodities, and all these commodities. I will come back to the balancing. Now, if we see the predictions on the export front, we are exporting around around 10 to 15 million tons of food grains. This is mainly rice, and we can go if we continue the same trend. We can go up to 36 million tons of rice, some core cereals, and rice exports. Around 20, 25, 30 million tons of rice, and other 5, 6 million tons of wheat and other core cereals. So, in other words, if we continue the trend, we are exporting water, as it is the hot debate whether we should export rice or not. So we are going to increase by three times by 2032 if we continue producing wheat and rice the way we have been emphasizing. Now, this is indirect demand as a percentage of total demand. We, in some cases, in the case of rice, it is usual 12.5% of the production is indirect demand. In the case of wheat, it is increasing from 29 to 34%. Core cereals almost 88%. At present, we have around 77% used as raw material for industrial use. So mainly the maize. So core cereals will be much more used for the not for human consumption but for the industrial uses. In other cases like pulses, food grains, milk, meat, everything we have around 40 to 50% indirect demand. The rest of 40% demand is for the direct consumption. Now, this is impact of COVID. We can see the dimension of increase in consumption of rice, wheat, and core cereals, around 6 to 7% increase because of decline in purchasing power, and 25 to 50% decline in other commodities, in high value commodities like fruits, nuts, vegetable, milk, meat, oilseeds. All those commodities, there is a decline during the COVID period. Now, this shows a volatility in agricultural commodities. The prices of fruits and vegetables, the volatility is much higher. as with the decline in purchasing power, there is a disturbance on the demand side. So there is a decline and some increase seasonality is observed in the prices. Now, this is, I just want to show growth in demand and supply from 2011-12, which is the actual, to 32 on the demand side, and 17-18 actual. I have used this data up to 18-19 later, but I have calculated this growth trend from 17-18 to 32-33. What this indicates, if we see the demand and supply, the growth in supply of rice, wheat, other cereals, the production growth is more than the demand growth. The demand is less than 1%, production is 2 to 2.5%. Whereas in the case of high value commodities, milk, meat, vegetables, the demand is 5 to 6%. We have supply side, except meat, we are lagging behind the demand. So what this indicates, the farmers are not diversifying as per the market forces. The consumption demand is increasing of the high value crops. We are diversifying from food grains to other commodities, but the growth trend indicates our diversification trend is not increasing by the same rate. So that is where probably the whole issue of what is going on the MSP and all this front, farmers at the streets. This, if we see the long run trend, our farmers need to go away from MSP. They need to diversify to vegetables, meat, milk, which is high value paying commodities, and farmers' income can be doubled. What is our target if they move along with the market forces? So I just had 3-4 slides for the agriculture reforms and what is going on. The 3 bills introduced. I'll just skip some of these slides. The limitation of APMCs, on which there is a lot of we have the lot of drama going on at present, and there is a demand for APMC to continue for future. So some of the problems of the APMC is infrastructure facilities, like the old structure is there. The modern infrastructure for fruits, vegetables, washing, and all those facilities, cold chain is not there. Poor buying competition because of traders. Sometimes they have collisions. There's cartelization among the traders. They collect huge market fee. It goes 6 to 8% in Punjab, Haryana. So these are the major problems which APMC is facing. This particular slide shows we have around 6,000 APMC markets all over the country. Vis-a-vis our total number of rural hearts is 22,000, 23,000. Probably moving from APMCs to rural heart. APMCs are more or less in the urban areas. Rural hearts are in the rural areas. They are more closer to the village. Probably strengthening these these rural hearts. If the government, before reforming APMC, bringing in APMC Act and all this, if they would have strengthened rural hearts with the modern infrastructure, probably farmers would not have been protesting in the streets. If we see this area covered, see some of the states like Punjab, Haryana, West Bengal, Maharashtra, the access of APMC is available within the periphery of, say, 10 to 15 kilometers. This is the area squared kilometers. The states like Andhra Pradesh, Himachal, Arunachal, Jammu and Kashmir, it goes up to 30 to 50 kilometer farmer has to travel. So there is lack of market APMCs available in the neighborhood. Some of these lackings can be fulfilled through strengthening rural hearts, which number is much higher, and they are available closer to the village level. Now, if we see the infrastructure facilities existing in APMCs, compared to rural huts, go down facility, cold storage facility, some of these cold storage is much less, but go down facility is available, covered platform, grading facility, drawing platform, drinking water, toilet facility. These are all good facilities available in the APMC compared to rural huts, which is almost 9% boundary wall only. There is a raised platform only for 14%, Pakka internal road are only for 15%, connected to road had almost drinking water 50%. So the facilities in the rural huts are much less compared to APMCs. That is where the rural huts need to be strengthened. That can provide a good alternative to APMCs. Now they are making MSP a legal right, which is going on. A lot of farmers and other NGOs and farmers organizations, they are demanding for minimum support price, making it legal. I have pasted the picture. If we the 24-25 commodities, including wheat, rice, cereals, pulses, and oilseeds, for which MSP exists. If government starts purchasing all these commodities, you need almost 8 lakh crore rupees for buying these commodities. And if we see how much is government at present spending, 1.5 lakh crore is the subsidy bill, which is only for 30% of wheat and rice purchased on the MSP. So if government makes it a legal right and the traders are not ready to buy at the MSP because of no profitability, so they will not be available in the market to buy below MSP because they will end up in the jail. Then the government is forced to buy all these commodities. The entire budget, we have around 30 lakh crore rupees of budget, and total our receipts are were in 2020-21 budget were around 23 lakh crore. So the entire receipt amount has to be spent on buying these commodities. At least the commodities for which MSP exists, almost 8 lakh crore you need for spending to buying it and then maintaining another 8 lakh crore rupees. So you will end up spending everything on these commodities alone. So it is not sustainable. It is not wise to say that MSP should be made legal. So concluding my presentation, the balance sheet of demand and supply looks quite affirmative for food grains, except the case of oilseeds, in which case India is already acute deficit. India is poised for some surplus in rice and wheat, almost 10 to 15 million tons surplus will be there. Coarse grains will be sufficient to meet the domestic demand, whereas pulses will have deficit of around 4 to 6 million tons. The overall food grains will have quite comfortable position as far as food security is concerned. However, in oilseeds, we will have 50 to 80 million tons, maybe even 120 million tons of deficit. We are already spending huge amount buying edible oil. So we need almost the yellow revolution to overcome. Probably the green line is oil palm, which is productivity is very high. We should promote oil palm. And probably some diversification from food grains to edible oils is required to strengthen the food security for the future. The other commodities, including milk, meat, fruits and vegetable and sugar, there appears to be a fine balance between demand and supply given the assumption on supply side turns to. I end my presentation here. This is the contract farming book which is coming. We have work details. SAGE is bringing this book on contract farming and land tenancy in Indian agriculture. We have provided several suggestions how to improve contract farming. So probably some of the what is the furor going on, probably our book will be able to answer some of those questions. Thank you, all of you, for your patience listening, and comments and suggestions are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumar. I think we are all richer by listening to you and by thinking about what we should expect in 2032-33. There are a number of questions, but most of the questions again relate to the short term, the impact of the agitation, the MSP regime. So I think I will not be taking up those questions in the first instance, because today's discussion is about the longer term. So Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goyal, who was Principal Secretary Agriculture Maharashtra for a long time, is asking how to get so many agri verticals integrated horizontally in a value chain so that the farmers can be connected to businesses in a viable business model. See, the thing is that the value chains, especially of fruits and vegetables, are basically operating in micro markets. How to link them in a national level market? That is the question, which is very relevant in the longer term.
Yes. So, should I?
Yes, please carry on.
Okay. I think what I presented, the farmers, there is lack of diversification at the farmers end, and they are still 60-65% area is under food grains, and despite established profitability of horticultural commodities, there is no a very huge diversification appearing. In some states, there is, of course, the trend is moving, but the other states still continuing with the old trend, especially states like Punjab, Haryana, which is very dynamic in nature, enterprising, but they are not moving. The main reason I see the absence of this integration of the rural markets with the terminal markets. In the horticultural commodities, high value commodities, see the APMCs which are there, I don't think they are meant for high value commodities. They are old fashioned, created in the 60s and 70s, where weighing, cleaning, all those facilities are there. But the modern food chain requires the cold chain. You need not only a warehouse, you need a cold storage where the farmers can bring their produce. We see even buying potato from my neighborhood. I find this much soil with the potato. So what we need is at the hinterland, the rural mandis, which I have shown 22,000. Probably if cold chain facilities, infrastructure facilities are created there, right at the village end, then if the farmers have the option of bringing their produce from the farm gate to these rural huts, which is within the periphery of 4 to 5 kilometers, especially in the summer season when temperature is very high, the quality of the produce within the transportation itself, I think 50% of the value goes down. So what is required is creating those infrastructure at the village end, and then linking them with the agro processing. Agro processing has to grow if we have to have the vertical integration. Vertical integration will not happen unless agro processing we have been trying from the supply side. There has been a lot of initiative, but look at the kind of taxes imposed on the processed products. You have all kind of excise duties and production duties, and then we had this most of the agro processing commodities had GST of 28%, 30%. Now some of those are reduced, but we need to give facilities to the entrepreneur to come in the village, provide the land laws. We have to, I think there is a need for change. The industrialist cannot buy land. It is too expensive. Then labor laws are too strict. So unless we have agro processing with all those facilities, we are not going to get foreign direct investment. We are not going to get the Indian private sector investment to the rural areas. I have been listening in 2005, 2006, a lot of Tata and there were a lot of houses coming forward in the villages. They created the kind of glass houses, but they disappeared within next 4 or 5 years. I did contract farming project in 2005 for my postdoctorate. I visited in Punjab. A lot of private firms were coming up, thinking that there will be a lot of initiative towards agro processing. But all those benefits, all those the underground infrastructure has not been provided. Even in Punjab, Haryana, we find the lack. So in the rural areas, you don't have the linked roads. You need to strengthen the infrastructure within the village periphery. That only will integrate vertically the agri processing with the food chain in the village, and then there will be back end the farmers find the benefit. They find they can get appropriate price of their horticultural commodities production. Then only they will diversify. They are very excited, but they don't find the trader who gives them the appropriate price. That is the reason they are asking for MSP even for horticultural commodities, because private sector is not coming forward. The required infrastructure is not created, cold chain is not there. So unless we move into that direction, we are spending a lot of amount on food subsidy and all these, which should have turned into infrastructure. That only can provide long-term sustainability to agriculture, and horticulture is suitable for the small and marginal farmers. They cannot survive on food grains. They can survive on horticulture. With 1 acre horticulture area, they can survive. They can have sufficient income, but not from the food grains. Yes. Your mic is muted.
There is another question from Dr. Somana Datta from Jaipur. So she is asking, in view of the shortage of edible oils, oilseeds, and pulses by 2033, will we allow the genetically modified crops so that we can become self-sufficient? What do you think
I
will
think
happen?
definitely yes. Genetically modified is what we are talking of. Second green revolution in cotton, and there was a lot of opposition to cotton. There were like the entire Europe has been opposing genetically modified crops. Even in India, we did not allow initially, but when the farmer took over the seed and they started growing the cotton, moved to GM crop, then it was allowed later. I think Supreme Court has allowed the trials, and if we should not rush immediately, but we have to establish that the profitability, productivity is going to increase with the GM crop. Then definitely we should go for those crops. Already, I think cotton. In the case of cotton. Cotton we are not eating, but the cotton feed is there already used for animals, and we have not seen any of those what we were expecting, that there will be a mass death and all those kind of things are not there. Probably with caution we can move into that direction. GM should be welcome, and technology is the only solution in the long run. We can move, in addition to GM, I think the oil palm, I have done recently a study in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh. So what is happening, we are giving a much higher price for importing edible oil, but our farmers in oil palm, they are literally crying. We are giving them 6,000 MSP for palm oil in Karnataka. I have seen 6,000 per ton. I've seen their profitability will not be there unless we give them 9,000 per ton. We are not giving that the price which makes them survive and which makes them make normal profit at least. Then only we will have expansion. We talk a lot on in our books, but we don't see that the kind of infrastructure required for the farmers to move into those directions. Even harvesting material is not there. The kind of climber you need in the oil palm, farmers don't have. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't get even the minimum support price. So we cannot survive the way we are moving.
Okay, so we need more effective implementation of minimum support price for oil palm. Okay.
Oil
Now the
palm
last
is a
question.
special crop which has 10 times productivity compared to any field crop of oilseeds. So look at
Okay.
the kind of potential there.
Yes. So now Dr. Kamla Menon is asking if I have understood her question correctly. She's saying in the long run, will not giving lower rates, if not free supply of agricultural inputs like seeds and fertilizers, help in diversification along with MSP? I think what she's saying is that in addition to free electricity, the government should provide free or highly subsidized prices for seeds and fertilizers. Fertilizer is also highly subsidized. So I do not know what she means, but maybe if you have understood her question, you may like to try.
Yeah, I think this very free ship is killing the farmers. Why they are growing wheat and rice? Because water is free, fertilizer, urea. See, Punjab, see the soil of Punjab. Compare it with any other state. We are using, Punjab farmer is using urea almost 10 times more compared to other states. So, whereas the ratio should be 4:1, it is almost gone sometimes 15, 20, 27 to 1. That is the kind of imbalance in the soil. So we are going to destroy the soil and the Punjab agriculture, which is a milching cow. If we continue giving distorting the market pattern and giving the kind of subsidy we are giving, that is probably the reason farmers are not diversifying. They will continue grow rice, and we are exporting 10, 15 million tons. We will have to export 40 million tons. There is no other way because our granaries are full. We don't have any other option. Either throw away the paddy or export at whatever, even if it is not profitable to export, because
Okay.
we will be keep on growing those commodities.
Yeah. Okay. So the last question is from Mr. Govind Dhami of UP. He's asking whether you have also studied or projected the declining land holdings and transfer of agricultural land for commercial purposes.
Well, this question of land holding, this is in most of the seminars I face. I've seen a kind of feeling that land is transforming from agriculture into industrial purposes, mostly for housing. What will happen to food security? This is the question mostly posed. See, we had the agriculture share in GDP, which was 55%. We had employment share 75%. Today we have agriculture around 12 to 13%. Employment is still 55%. So we want the industry to grow. We want the services sector to grow, but we don't want to give any water. We don't want to give any land to the industry and service sector. We want they put up industry, I don't know, on the moon and provide employment to all our manpower without engaging water and without engaging land. See, China is having almost 20-25% less cultivated area. We are producing 300 million tons of food grains. They are producing 600 million tons. We are producing 300 million tons of horticulture commodities. They are producing 700 million tons. I'm not saying we can achieve that that kind of productivity overnight, but with half of the land we are cultivating today, we can produce what we are producing today. What you need is more better infrastructure, better cultivation practices, better water uses. We can switch into drip and sprinkler irrigation. We can save almost 50-60% of water. So farmer has to invest much more. For that, land is not the only option. With the half of the land, they can produce equal amount if they have the purchasing power, if they have the amount to spend on infrastructure. So we have to balance. Probably that is what the message need to go to the general public. That it is not even land now. The options are available. You can grow vertically. You
Okay,
can convert
fine.
1 acre to 3 acres.
Fine.
So land is not the limitation. Limitation is our how much we can invest. If farmer can invest on better technology, on infrastructure, probably they can produce.
So thank you very much, Dr. Parmod Kumar. With this, we come to the end of today's webinar by Dr. Parmod Kumar. I am sure that all of us have benefited immensely. I request you to again go through his report, Demand and Supply Projections. You can find it on the website of Niti Aayog. Have a look at it. Uh, please see the different scenarios projected by him, the scenario of GDP growth, etc. A number of these things may be impacted adversely because of the COVID-19, but I still think that most of the projections will come true. So thank you very much. Thank you, participants, and thanks a lot, Dr. Pramod Kumar. And lastly, I would like to thank India International Center for hosting this series. I am not announcing the name of the next speaker because we will see how the farmers' agitation proceeds, and we will decide in a few days' time who the next speaker will be. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. I just want to inform that I have presented only demand and supply of output. In our Niti Aayog report, we have demand and supply of inputs. Also, the industrialization in agriculture and the government policies, programs, everything. It is a very detailed report. 5 chapters. I have talked about only 1 chapter here. So interested readers can go and they can also approach me. I can send this report to them. Thank you, sir, very much for giving me this opportunity, and I thank the audience for coming in large number and attending today's lecture and raising very useful questions. Thank you, one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.